hello. Happy Monday, y'all, and welcome to today's episode of FPP Live, a time I connect with you every Monday at 7 p.m. EST, live, that is, in order to connect all things faith, purpose, and profit. That's where FPP comes from. And it's only if you desire to live as the highest and best version of who God created you to be. I wonder if you really realize that God gave you a gift, and that gift is how you are meant to serve the world. So, yes, you are a marketplace minister. And so I hold the space for marketplace ministers that are out there. And what I mean by that is you were called to serve either in your career or in a business that you've started. And so every Monday I come to give you actionable insight to move your needle forward as you go deeper and further into your calling. So, as you come in, those of you that join me live, please tell me hello. Tell me where you are joining me from. And just know that I have my iPad here today so I can see your names as you're making comments. So that's one. If I say anything that resonates with you, that's good to you. I want to know. Give me some fire emojis. Give me some heart emojis. If you have questions I share, then please, by all means, ask your questions because I am here for you. All right. So I'm continuing with a series that I started. This is actually part 6 now. Let me say, listen, I don't know about the rest of you guys. My allergies have been so bad this season. So you're going to hear me cough a little bit. I'm going to have to take a sip of, yes, I still have coffee over here because, today I needed it. My first day really bad because I had the worst allergies last week. So this is a final part in the series I started some time ago. The series is called When It's Time to Let Go of Plan A. And just to remind you, how many of you guys had a plan A? That plan you made, that checklist you wrote out, whether you did it as a freshman in college or when you graduated from college or when you started your career, all of us at some point at time made a list of all the things we wanted to do or be. And you get to a point in your career where that list is complete, is done. And yet you're settling for good enough. Because when that checklist is done, guess what? That means there's more for you to do. And so I'm holding the space, not just in this series, but in everything I do for you to go after the next level of your brilliance. Okay. So our foundational Bible verse for this series is Philippians 3:13 through 14 that says, I count not myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forth unto those things which lie before, I press toward the goal for the prize. Well, it says press for the mark in this Bible, in this King James version. I press for the mark for the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. So we all have things to press and to work toward. Hey, Brandy, I see you, right? We all have things that we should be going after. And so in part 1, by the way, I'm going to do a quick review. If you've missed any of this series, you can always go back and watch these episodes I'm going to name. I'm not going to go through everything I taught in each episode, but episode 1, which was called When It's Time to Let Go of Plan A, I talked about get your priorities together. Which my mother used to say that all the time to me when I was in high school. She said it in college too. She even said it in my 20s now to think about it. And so I walked you through steps through 3 steps that you've got to do in order to get your priorities together at this new heightened level. The thing that's interesting is most people don't realize that your purpose matriculates. So you may have very well started operating in your purpose when you started in your career, but that was the first level. And God has level after level after level for you to climb. And I talked about that. I can't remember if I talked about that in episode 1 or episode 2, which was the power in career interruptions. When I pray before I do every episode, before I write down my outline, which is what I have here for today's episode, I always pray, what should I share? And what kept coming in my head for that one is girl interrupted. I was like, well, I can't call it girl interrupted, but it feels like an interruption when God shifts the plan that you thought you had for yourself. That totally happened to me. Those of you that haven't heard my story, I'm not going to tell it all here because I know I told it probably in the second episode. That I started in the entertainment industry. It was a job I've wanted since I was 7 years old. And I could tell you the exact moment when I was 7 that I knew I was called to do this thing called producing and casting. What I realize now is that that was the first level God had for me. That same gift of producing and casting I use now in my business as I help powerful people transition into what's next for you, casting and producing. And so, my question to you is, where are you in the purpose matriculation process? Third episode was It's the Foundation That Makes a Difference. And the question is, what's the foundation of your business? Is it making money or is it that you're trying to give back to God? You know, when I talk about profit when I'm here with you, the word profit means gain. I see more of you are joining. So at least say hello and tell me where you are in the world. The word profit means gain. So ultimately, your career is not just about gaining in your pocketbook. When you do the thing that God has created you to do, you're gaining for the kingdom. Hello, the kingdom here on earth. Oh, I can go into a whole conversation around how and why God created the earth in the first place, why God gave us the mandate to work. Mm, yep, he did. Go read Genesis. The whole second chapter when he made man and woman and he told Abraham that I need you to be in the garden to tend to it to keep it. Genesis 2:15. So our garden is this world. And each of us have gifts and talents to tend to and keep a certain arena. Hey, Nicole, I like your name, girl. Tell everybody where you are in the world. Okay. So that was the foundation that makes a difference. And it really is ultimately all about who you are and who you be. Hey, Tanisha, tuning in from the great state of Maryland. I know that's right. I love it. My DMVers in the house, right? I'm in the V of the DMV. Then episode number 4 was a money shift. And listen, in that episode, I walked you through a bankroll mindset quiz. That quiz is important because here's what happens when you are already successful, you don't realize that sometimes your mindset is what's in your way. So for me, I was successful when I worked in the entertainment industry, but what I didn't realize is that my South Central LA mindset that was still here. Didn't matter that I had multiple degrees. It didn't matter that I had all these accolades and this phenomenal resume and all the shows and all the things I had accomplished. My mindset was still in my way. Mhm. So if you didn't get to watch that episode, again, go to nrjnetwork.com. That one's called The Money Shift. Then our last episode, and actually this episode, which is part 6, is a continuation of our conversation from our last episode. So our last episode is going to take a chess move. Now, listen, I see more people joining. And let me say this as my grandmother would say, don't walk in this house and not speak. Well, you in my virtual house today. So at least say, hey, as I'm pouring into you for the next 20 more minutes or so. Okay. So let's get to work because I got a lot to share. So, our last episode is going to take a chess move. And as I talked to you about that, listen, I read this article and it was in Forbes, and the article was called The Cost of the Great Resignation Starting to Add Up. In the article, it talked about the fact that so many people, well, let me read it. It says in 2022, we all witnessed many people leaving their jobs. However, here's what the article goes on to share that many of the inordinarily high number of job switchers realize they have made a mistake or a less than optimal decision. You know why? Because they jumped without strategy. They jumped without being clear on what their next move was, their next level. And when I think about any great arena that you've got to have strategy, it's the game of chess. So in our last episode, I shared with you one of my favorite movies during COVID, and not movie series in COVID was The Queen's Gambit. If you saw that. So what I shared with you was the 5 things I learned from Beth's character in The Queen's Gambit. I'm going to tell you the 5 quickly. Again, if you missed it, go to nrjnetwork.com, right? I see more people making comments. I'm trying to see so I can see all my comments over here. By the way, if you see me looking over here, you guys, I'm looking at my iPad so I can see who you are as you're making comments, okay? So, hey, Jana, same push. Again, as you guys come in, tell me where you are in the world. I just like to know where people are, and you just never know when I might be doing something in your area, and then I can make sure you know. Hi, Ty Shell. All right, so with that, the 5 things I walked you through, and I'm not going to walk through deeply, that I learned from Best Character in The Queen's Gambit. By the way, if you haven't seen that series, it's good. It'll teach you a lot. Number 1, don't discount your next level. Like, don't settle for where you are. I'm going to talk more about that today. Number 2, start before you're ready. I hear the number of people that tell me, well, I'm getting ready to, or I'm going to wait until, or I need to wait until this happens first. God does not work like that. I love the thing about Beth, who was an orphan, who was someone that should have never played chess according to chess standards, who learned chess from the janitor in her orphanage. Come on, somebody. She didn't wait till she was ready. She jumped right into the game. Number 3, don't try to fit in because she didn't. Number 4, be committed to mastery. We're going to talk about that more today. And number 5, realize you don't have every answer. Get help, which is what she did. Now, let's dig deeper as I taught you from the subject, the insider secrets to go after your next level. And really, I could say it's the insider secrets to master you on the next level. And it really is mastery. Okay. So let me add to that another Bible verse, which is similar to Philippians 3 13 and 14. It is 1 Corinthians 9 24 through 27. But I'm going to break it down. I'm going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to break it down as I share with you tonight. All right. Again, it's 1 Corinthians 9 24 through 27 that says, do you not know that in a race, all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the game goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. Y'all getting my point here? Therefore, I do not run like someone running aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. No, I strike a blow to my body and make it my slave, so that after I've preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize. Now that says a lot. I'm gonna break this down, but I really want you guys to get this. The first part that says, do you know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Okay, and it goes on to talk about they do it to get a crown that will not last. But we do it, meaning that those of you that are doing the thing that you've been called to do because you know that you're doing it to gain for God. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. Now, listen, here's what it says in my Tony Evans, y'all that are with me know this is my favorite Bible commentary. It says this, I'm going to read around it. It says, just ensure that your ladder is leaning against the right wall. So, those of you that are climbing a corporate ladder, you need to make sure your ladder is leaning against the right wall, right? Oh, well, let me go back. Don't you know that the runners in a stadium all race, but only one receives the prize, right? So, in the race of life, Paul wasn't content to receive a ribbon. He wanted to obtain the gold, which is for God to be proud, right? That's right, Nicole, for the glory of God, right? So you want to ensure that your ladder is leaning against the right wall. Come on, somebody climbing that corporate ladder. You want to scale the ladder that has Christ at its top, right? You should long to hear him say, well done, my good and faithful servant. By the way, that's from Matthew, from the parable of the talents. If you haven't read it, go read Matthew 25. I think it's 14 through 30. And literally, you want God to be able to say to you at the end, when you get to meet him face to face, you did good, girl, right? And so as we dig into this, I want you to really, really get this, that this whole conversation about mastery and you growing you on this new level is ultimately all about you doing the thing that God has crafted and called you to do. When you are finished at this level, the reason God is growing you at your next is because you have more work to do. He wants to expand your territory. Hello, Prayer Jabez. And so God is going to push you to grow you. And that's why you either feel like you are not fulfilled, you feel like there's more for you, you feel like that you're bored at work, or anywhere in between and anything close to any of those things. It's because your next level is calling for you. Some of you are sitting in comfort and sitting in complacent and aren't willing to go after your next level. And I need you to know that God is waiting for you. Mhm. So, if you're going to master you on the next level, listen, the thing that I love when you think about chess, or if you think about any phenomenal athlete, whether it's Venus Serina, or if it's Kobe Bryant or Tiger Woods for that matter, they never settled at their current level of success. They always looked at mastering themselves on a new level. And that's what I'm talking about, y'all. So I'm going to give you the 5 things you got to do to master. I'm talking about it from the game of chess, but this is really if you want to master your business or your career in a whole new way. So I'm not talking about who you already are and what you've already done. I'm not talking about the skills you use to get the director title you have behind your name and all the things that are already on your bio. All those things are great. And all the things that you did to get those things are the skills you acquired and classes you took and maybe coaches you hired. All of those were needed and necessary. And now a new level will require that times 10, right? So what you did to get your bachelor's degree was different than what you did to get your master's degree. What you did in kindergarten was not what you did in high school. So it's a whole new level. So number 1, you've got to consider your strengths and weaknesses. There is something that so many people talk about, a SWOT analysis, and they talk about it looking at your business or your department or where you work or what have you. But what if you did a SWOT analysis on yourself? So SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And when a chess player is playing the game, that chess player knows their strengths, but they've also got to be able to play to both their strengths and their weaknesses. They're looking at that board for opportunities, but they're also looking for threats, and they're determining the best move to make. Now, here's the other thing that's great. When you look at these athletes, when, sorry for coughing, y'all, my allergies, when they're looking to master themselves on the next level, they're looking at their weaknesses and their threats and how they can minimize them. So even if you look at a football, have you ever seen either a movie or some football something where you see all the players watching the other team? They're watching film, or they're watching film of their last game, and they're looking at how they've been doing things. Do you know why? They're looking for their weaknesses and their threats, even opportunities, because opportunities are opportunity to grow. So if you know that there are certain things in your way, instead of just settling for that, work to grow in that area. But you've got to sit still long enough to look at where you are and where do you need help and support. I know for me, for years, my business has failed when I started my business because I didn't stop to realize what my weaknesses, my biggest weakness was, is I never had a business like this. Sure, my brains was made to do this, but I didn't know how to do it like this. It wasn't until I hired a coach. Now listen, my coach began to show me so many layers of things that I couldn't even see. Opportunity, but also was a threat because I kept failing year after year because I wasn't willing to do the work. The other thing is there are other people that do what you do, whether it's in your career or in your business. And when you don't sit long enough to realize opportunity that'll have you step over and above anybody else that does what you do, then you will sit in mediocre and look like a second rate version of everybody else. Come on, somebody. Mhm. Number two, chess makes you create a plan. I cannot say this enough. So many people start businesses, and the quote I read to you a few minutes ago about the great resignation, so many people jump into another career and they haven't stopped long enough to make a plan. I was talking to a client the other day, and she was saying that she left the career that she is in. Well, she left the career she was in to go after this new job because she said she's supposed to make more money, and it promised her so many other things. But you know what? Making more money isn't strategy. She didn't stop long enough to make sure it was a good fit for her brilliance on the next level. And making more money, while it might feel good for a minute, you don't want short term, what's that, like a one night stand? It feel good in that moment. Come on, let me keep it all the way real. I want a long term sustainable relationship. I want you to put a ring on it, right? I want a long term relationship. But when you do something that feels good in the moment, that's a booty call. And some of you guys are treating your business like a booty call. I had a conversation about that last year, in the last year in FPP Live. So you can go back and watch the replay for that too. And many of you are treating your purpose, your brilliance, like a booty call. It's not about feeling good. It's about doing good and giving God gain. Because ultimately, there are a group of people that need you. And so it's not about doing what's convenient. It's about making a plan to go after the next level and how you can serve bigger. Can't say that enough. Number three, chess players take risks. Listen, even though you make a plan, you might do a whole SWOT analysis and you've done it all. And so now you're ready to start. It's still a risk. Because listen, faith, Hebrews 11:1 is faith is a substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So you may not see how you're going to get to that big goal you have, but you've got a plan in place, but you still don't see, oh, how is that going to happen? And when you get to a certain level of success, that is in your way 9 times out of 10 because you can't see how. You can't see how these things are going to work out. Listen, God is also doing, listen, I'm in my next level too. And I'm in a place where I can't see how either. But guess what? I have created strategy and I'm going after it. It's not how is not my business. Me being obedient to my calling is. Come on, somebody. God does his best work and us not knowing how. But having the strategy in place and sticking with it is when God shows up. God's not going to show up if you just pray and pray and pray and pray. He's going to be like, well, what are you doing? He's going to show up in the middle of you doing the work to go after the thing you know your purpose to do. So the risk, listen, I've risked it all to gain it all so many times in my business, so many times. And every time hasn't been good, I will be honest. But guess what? I've learned some great lessons that maybe it might have pulled me back for a second, but then I propelled even further forward. But it was only because I took the risk. If I did nothing, I would have never learned that lesson. I wouldn't be where I am right now. And there are risks that chess players take. And sometimes that risk turns out well, like a great chess move, and sometimes it doesn't. But many of them, the good ones, the ones that are mastering their genius, quickly recover. Number four, chess makes you manage your resources better. So, listen, when I go back to the SWOT analysis, when you start to get clear on what your brilliance is, on what it's not, and listen, I say brilliance and I say purpose interchangeably. If you've been around me, you'll hear me say both. When I say brilliance, I'm talking about your purpose that, listen, Matthew 5:16 says, let your light so shine among men and women that they see your good work and glorify your Father. So my goal is that your purpose is so bright because you're letting it shine. Okay. So you've got to manage that brilliance in the newness of it. So when you're here, using myself for an example again, and I went through entertainment and they got called me to do this thing called coaching entrepreneurs. And then God said, okay, I want you to start working with corporations. Okay, great. Now God is having me go back in the entertainment industry, y'all, in a way I've never saw coming. More to come on that. But the point is this, I've seen how God has sprinkled it all along the way in the last 30 years since I left. So what I'm seeing God do is put me in a space where I have to manage my brilliance in a new and different way. The thing that I've had to learn, just like you, somebody said this is confirmation. All right, Amanda, tell me how it's confirmation. The thing that I find is interesting is when you're being called to manage your brilliance in a way you've never done it before, it's going to be in your blind spots. And what I know from my own journey is it always takes a coach. Because let me tell you, my current coach called out the current thing I just told you I'm working on. And I didn't even see it. And then I said to myself, I'm going to pray about it because I always do. God started, listen, I've got meetings in my calendar in alignment with it that I would have never seen coming. So those of you that need support, I need you to get that my signature program, Brilliance Master Academy, is open for enrollment right now. We have about, I think I have 3 spots left. So brilliancemasteracademy.com, we're open for enrollment. Read all about it. It's my 12-month incubator program. Listen, whether you're just starting your business alongside your 9 to 5, or you've been in business for years or you're not making predictable revenue. One of the main things my implementation does is helps you create programming. This is my producing gift. So I help you create, my team and then creates the automation and all the back end stuff for you so that you have programs where you make money in your sleep. Plus you learn marketing. How do you grow a tribe to buy? How do you share your story? How do you speak to a predictable result? So much more. BreezeMasteryAcademy.com. And the reason I'm sharing that with you is here's what I've learned. In order for me to maximize the resources that my brilliance brings, I had to find a coach that could pull it out of me, that could show me what it was. Listen, I remember even my first coach that I hired when I was leaving entertainment and I started my business and I was failing. And some of you have heard my story about failing. And my coach began to show me how I was overlooking my gift for for producing, right? As soon as I saw that, here's the other thing she began to show me, that all the ways that I also did not even know how to do it, right? So Amanda says, praying without actually executing my plan. I can want it, but I'm not actively doing anything to see it happen. Also getting out of my own way because of fear and doubt. Right. And can I tell you, fear and doubt comes because the enemy's always going to come to fight against your flesh. See, he sees your weaknesses just like you do. He sees your threats. As a matter of fact, he's your biggest threat. He's going to use your mindset, fear, doubt, all the negative things that come against you to keep you where you are. He's using that. Because listen, do you know the number of people you will bless when you say yes to your gift on a new level? Do you know how you'll bless God and all the reasons God created you when you say yes to it? That's the exact reason I created Brilliance Mastery Academy. So you get a lot of doing, but you get being work in that too. So those of you that know, like you know, that I'm your coach, go to Breeze Mastery Academy and you have to enroll. All right. So with that said, let me move into our final, which is chess shows the importance of learning from the masters. When I think about any great athlete, they had someone else in their same sport they admired and they watched. But they didn't copy them. They learned from them. They learned strategy from them. They learned how to execute the plays, and then they created their own. When I think about my coach, who was a woman I greatly admired, and I hired her, I didn't know she was then going to turn around and hire me. But the point is this: she couldn't teach me how to produce. I already had that in me. But what she could do is hold the space so that I could see myself and see myself in ways I never thought possible. See myself in ways that I didn't even know would provide value to other people because I don't coach me, just like you don't coach you. There are things that are valuable to you that you don't even realize are laying inside of you, dying to come out. That will bless a whole group of people. So you really going after the next level of you and getting the strategy around it and mastering you on this new level. It's not about who you already are. Y'all hear me say this all the time. It's about who you have not yet become. And so my question to you is, here we are at the beginning of quarter two. Can you believe that, of 2023? Have you yet done the work to master you on a new level? And the thing I think is interesting is when you get to that next level, do you know that there will still be another level for you to climb? So I've mastered my skills at this place. And even in the arena of corporate, which I'm growing, but for the fact that this whole sports and entertainment piece fell in my lap, I'm amazed at how God continues, not just for me, for all of us. When you master on this level, there's going to be another. And then you master this level, and there's going to be another. And so, my question to you is, will you sit in mediocre? Will you do the work to grow you? Will you sit in good enough? Or will you get past your own self and stop making it all about you and let go of plan A and begin to do the work to go after your plan B? Listen, this has been my honor to share with you in this series. I'm starting a new series next week. Excited about that one. Can't wait. But number one, I want to hear the one thing you've got out of this series that has been valuable to you. Number two, I want to know what action you're going to take because listening to me is great. Praying is great too. But faith without works is dead. And listening to me without implementing is a waste of your 30 minutes time with me. Right? So I want to know how you're going to move it forward. The third thing I want to offer to you, if there's ever any way I can support you, I want you to, those of you that are watching me live here in my Facebook group, send me an inbox message on Facebook. Now, listen, sometimes I check the messages and sometimes my team checks the messages. But either way, I'm going to get the message, whether it's me or my social media team that checks the message. I want to hear from you. What ways do you need support to go after your next level? Yes, I'm talking to you, successful woman. What you've done is great. But I'm here to support what's next. So my question to you is, what's next for you? All right. So, number one, tell me what you got in value. Number two, tell me what you're going to implement because you've been listening to these episodes. And again, if you've missed any of them, let me put the website, that's my YouTube channel. This started with when it's time to let go of plan A, and you can listen to all six of the series. And the way I teach, one builds on the next. You need all six. Okay. So, I want to know what action you're going to take. If I can be of service to you, then go and apply to Breeze Mastery Academy. Again, we're open for spring enrollment. I have a few spots left. breezemasteryacademy.com. We're going to close in the next probably week because I'll be full. So if you know now's your time, yes, you have to enroll. And then you actually have a call with me. And why do I do that? Because I can let you click and buy, but I don't sell, I serve. And the reason I do that is because if this is not a good fit for you, then I'll recommend something else that is. Because it doesn't feel good to me for me to say no to you without giving you a next. Because then I'd be contradicting what I'm teaching you. All right. So with that said, for those of you that I'll get to talk to and I'll get to work with in Breeze Mastery Academy, I'm excited to hold the space to grow your business. Those of you that you have already started your implementation, I want to know what you're doing. I want to hear from you. I want to know what value you've got, and I want to know how I can support you. All right. So, with that, that's the end of this episode. I look forward to continuing the conversation with you and starting a whole new conversation next week. All right. So, with that, again, thank you for joining us. I look forward to seeing y'all soon. All right. Have a good rest of your day, y'all. Bye.